You are listening to the It's Your Time podcast, and I'm your host, certified life coach Michelle Arnold Burke. In today's episode, I'm talking about agency as activism, self-leadership strategies for women who want to lead change. Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. Okay, in today's episode, we are talking about what I think is a powerful concept, agency as activism. And I want to give you a little background on this because, recently there's been some things that have been happening in the news, and I look at the socials and I'm a little bit disappointed because I actually see coaches, people who are wanting to help people, post things like, you should not be outraged about this, but you should be outraged about that. And I always talk about how what we focus on is what we find more of. And so I want us to focus more on the empowered ways that we can show up and call it kind of, rose-colored glasses, but I really do want to try to find and be more of the light for people around us. And I think if you're listening, you probably do too. So that is why I want to talk a little bit about agency as activism. And let me just be fully transparent. Listen, when I was writing this and I was like, I need to be more of the light. I want to find more of the light. I want to, try to look at, again, not toxic positivity, but just like humanity. Then Mark and I went for a long trip, and I will be honest, when people try to come in off the right side, or if you already see that the lanes are merging because of construction that you should be like getting over, I may or may not have been like, you are not getting in. And I was like, oh, Michelle, hey, be the light, be the light. So listen, it's a work in progress, right? So what do I even mean when I say agency as activism? I think it's the idea that when you lead yourself first, when you stop reacting, stop blaming, and start owning your power, you are not just changing your life, but you're actually changing the world. And I want to even talk about the idea of self-responsibility, right? So the difference between reacting and responding, and the radical choice to stop outsourcing your power to other people and circumstances. And I know that so often we kind of just go on default, right? Maybe it's something that we learned as kids when we're looking at our teachers or our parents and we want approval, or maybe it's our bosses or folks that have been doing the job longer. I want us to really start paying attention to the power that you have within and about how extreme accountability isn't something that's like punishment, right? It's liberation. And by the end of the show, I want you to kind of take away, I always say, take what works, leave what doesn't. But I'm going to give you some tools, similar tools to the Reset to Rise program that I have. And I really would love for you to start implementing them in a way that works for you, because we know that listening is passive learning and it's amazing and great, but it's not where you're going to see change in your life. So if you've ever felt like your schedule or your boss or even your own inner critic at times, right, runs the show, this episode is your reminder. You are the CSO, the Chief Self Officer of your life. And how freaking fun is that to think about? So let's begin here. Agency is the sense that you can influence your own life. And neuroscience shows us that when you feel in control, even about the small things, your stress decreases and your energy increases. But here's the truth. Too often, we hand that agency away. And we say things like, my boss stresses me out. For the record, I don't say that in case anybody's listening and knows. You know what I mean? We might even say this market makes it impossible. Or if my spouse or my kids or my family would just do X, then I could feel better. Holy smokes. Listen, family can be such amazing lessons for all of us, right? So any of these sound familiar to you? I've been there. Here's the shift though. Your feelings, as a reminder, come from your thoughts, not other people, not the economy, not the weather, not the politics, not everything outside of you, which is great news because this is the foundation of cognitive behavioral therapy and coaching. It's the idea that yes, circumstances exist, but your interpretation creates your emotion. And why call agency activism? Because in a culture that trains women to be people pleasers and caretakers and approval seekers, claiming your agency is a freaking radical act. And it's not easy sometimes, right? So when you stop waiting for others to change and take responsibility for your own thinking, you are breaking generational patterns. You are modeling a new way of being for your teams, for your family, for your daughters, for your nieces, for everyone around you. And that is the ripple effect. That is activism. And I want to kind of touch a little bit more on this idea of reacting versus responding, because it recently came up in one of my team meetings as well. Your brain, when we talk about reacting versus responding, reacting is amygdala driven. The amygdala is your brain's smoke detector. It fires off stress hormones, it pumps cortisol and adrenaline, and it narrows focus. And that's why you snap at a colleague or fire off an email. Or maybe it's when you go to just like, I need a glass of wine or I need to get something to eat, right? Responding is your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain responsible for perspective, for planning, for long-term goals. It's almost like the executive part of your brain, right? You don't build your career, your life on reactions. Now, we might have reactions, but the important part is that you start to notice those and then you build on responses. And here's a little neuroscience hack for you. A single physiological sigh, so inhale through the nose and then quick top it off with a sniff, like, right? So it's almost like a two-part. Then long exhale through the mouth tells your nervous system that you are safe. It's okay to like stand down, right? So when you feel that angst, give yourself a moment. This will bring your prefrontal cortex back online in less than 2 minutes. And you can also pair it with the idea of like stop, right? So just stop, take a breath, observe. What am I thinking? What's actually true? And then you're able to proceed intentionally. So think about this. Think about maybe if you're in med device sales, maybe you have a case cancel at the last minute. Maybe in the past you would panic, right? There's frustration, there's blame. There's an opportunity here to stop, to breathe, to observe. So instead, you have the opportunity to say, okay, the case canceled. And maybe in the past, the thought was, this is going to ruin my quarter, right? Like I need this in the revenue. Is that really 100% true? You can kind of question that, right? No. And then as you proceed, you can think about how to reschedule quickly, how to update your pipeline, how to communicate with clarity. There's just so many more options for you. And dare I say that this is not just self-control. That's activism here, right? It's because every time you choose a response over a reaction, you change the emotional climate of the room, right? Like you change the emotional climate of all of the folks around you when you can show up in that state of calmness. And when you can do that, you really are taking on the idea of extreme accountability. And have you guys heard of Jocko? He's a former Navy SEAL, and he calls this extreme ownership. It's a book that he has, and it's the idea that leaders own everything in their world. No excuses, no blame. Sounds maybe a little harsh to some, but actually it's freeing because when you own it all, you stop waiting, you stop wishing, and you start acting. And here's how it looks for you if you're a sales professional or a leader. Own the outcome, not just the effort. If the number isn't there, like if you haven't hit your number, ask, what did I control that I didn't control well enough? Prioritize, execute. When everything is urgent, nothing is. So pick the big rock and move that first. It gives you an opportunity to look back and to be in more control. When we continue to show up as the victim and blame everything and everyone outside of us, we will not think of solutions. You have the opportunity to do a little debrief. And I've talked about this on the past. Maybe it's on Fridays. Maybe it's once a month. Maybe it's on Sundays. That part doesn't matter. Do what works for you, but take a quick review of what worked, what didn't, and what do you want to do next week or next month? And you can also ask things like, what was the intent here? What actually happened? What did I learn? What will I change? Accountability is not self-punishment. It's self-liberation, because when you know you are the one steering the ship, you don't waste your energy trying to change the tide, right? Mark used to always say this to me: don't tell me how rough the seas are, just get the ship to shore. That's what we're working on, right? We're able to pivot. We're able to look at things. We're able to make changes because we know that we are the ones that are in control. And one more tool for you to consider, if this works for you, is the 4 R's of radical responsibility. So I like to first say recognize, notice the thought, and you can just write one sentence. Leadership never supports us. Maybe that's your sentence. And then reframe it. So ask yourself, is this 100% true? What else could be true here? So maybe sometimes support is uneven, and I can influence that by clarifying my needs. Then you have the opportunity to regroup. So set a new implementation intention. So on Mondays at 7 o'clock, I will send a 5-bullet brief, right? So you are communicating the needs in advance. And then number 4 is when you're able to regain. So track the evidence, keep a ta-da list, right? Like, we're so good at keeping to-do lists. How about you do a ta-da list where you recognize all of your wins? And I talk about this a lot, right? I started talking about it. Our reticular activating system is your brain's filter. So I want you to scan on purpose for proof that you are being supported, if that is the example that we're using here, right? So when you're saying that leadership never supports us, we're going to reframe that. We're going to ask if it's really true. We're going to regroup and then put your brain to work and find ways that actually, you know what, leadership might support us. And each step rewires your neural pathways. You can use that for any of the family situations as well. Find evidence of what you want to believe to be true. And each small act of reframing is a vote for your future self. And when you do this consistently, it doesn't just change you, it changes how people experience you. And that's activism, taking action in a way that works for you. And here's the truth. If it's not on your calendar, if you're not doing this work, if you're not doing your debrief or your ta-da, all of those things, if it's not on your calendar, my guess is it's probably not going to happen. It's just a wish, right? Your time is your life, and protecting that is also activism. And that is also extreme accountability, right? Protecting your time. So maybe you time block by the identity, right? So what if it's like CSO, Chief Self Officer, Power Hour versus work on deals? Doesn't it sound more fun? Like, it's your identity. You are the Chief Self Officer. How are you showing up? And be willing to deliver B- work. I know it's a crazy thought to think, but B- work done is better than delayed. Done is better than not even starting. So often we sit and wait for everything to be perfect. It does not have to be perfect. By the way, there is no such thing as perfection. I don't know where we got this idea. I work on it myself sometimes, but you can get so much more done in your life when you're willing to just get going. And also, energy audits. I talk about this so much. I am so into our energy and the importance of the frequency that we are bringing to life. Notice what drains you versus what fuels you, and protect your best energy blocks for high leverage work. Discipline equals freedom. When you manage your calendar, you create breathing room for both impact and joy, both. When you put things on the calendar, that you want to do, that are fun for you, and honor those commitments to yourself. Now, I also want to talk a little bit here about interdependence and emotional intelligence. And I want to be clear, agency doesn't mean doing everything alone. Interdependence is mutual responsibility. So at work, it's aligning with your teammates. At home, it's honest conversations with family. And here's the activist part. Instead of waiting for others to get it, you model it. You communicate clearly. You set boundaries without apology. Boundaries are not bad things. I think so many of us think that a boundary is like a punishment. It is not. Boundaries can be set with love. You lead yourself so others see that it can be done, and that's how culture changes. One person modeling agency day after day after day. Now, we talked about a few things here, right? So let's start wrapping it up. And we can call it maybe your Chief Self Officer Toolkit to start, right? This is your opportunity to practice agency as activism. Again, I'm going to list out a couple of things that we talked about. You pick one thing if that's what works for you. So we talked about the stop card, right? Pause before reacting. We talked about the 90-second reset. So the 2 physiological sighs, the shoulders down, name the feeling, take the breath, and also the idea of doing your debrief. So what worked, what didn't, what will you change? And let's not forget, I didn't talk about it much here, but I feel like it's the thread that goes into every single podcast. Some performance hygiene, might we call it. Move, hydrate, breathe, rest. Small acts equal big impact. Simple, repeatable, and guess what? Might end up being revolutionary. It starts with you taking care of yourself. Okay, let's bring it home. Activism isn't just marches or megaphones. It is for sure not telling people, everybody else, what to do. It's every choice that you make to reclaim your agency. And when you stop apologizing for boundaries, you are shifting culture. When you respond instead of react, you are rewiring the room. And when you own your calendar, you're showing what's possible for the next woman watching. You are choosing your priorities, you are taking care of them, and you are making a ripple effect in the world. And every time you lead yourself first, you make not only a ripple effect, right? You're making waves that will ripple out further than you even can see. Okay, friends, here's your one action for today. Pick one place where you've been reacting and practice a response. Use one of the tools that I mentioned above. One moment of agency. That's how change starts. And if you want to go deeper, if you're ready to feel more powerful, less stressed, aren't we all looking to be less stressed, and fully in charge of your own life, then take the next step and join the Reset to Rise program. In this program, we take the exact concepts, right? Self-responsibility, calendar, leadership, energy management, and turn them into daily practices that you can sustain. Because agency is not just a one-time podcast episode. It's not just a little pep talk, right? It is the rhythm that you learn. It's the foundation for your growth. It is what you do in every single moment. So head over to michelleburkecoaching.com/reset and join us. It's a place for professional development on your terms and change that lasts. Okay, that's what I have for you today, friends. Let's meet back here next week. But for now, make it a great day. Take care. Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one-on-one? Go to michelleburkecoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.